Hi, this is Father Bob Carr for the New Song Community. Today we're looking at the Gospel for the 12th Sunday of Ordinary Time in Year B. We're looking at Mark's account of Jesus sleeping in the boat as the boat is being tossed and turned with the apostles in it. I'm a former Navy sailor, and I've been out to sea, and I know what it's like to go through heavy seas. As a matter of fact, I'll never forget the words of a bosun's mate, chief bosun's mate, who was screaming at the stupidity of a group of people who had done this major error on the ship. And he said, "Don't you understand that the sea is the greatest natural force on the planet? Yeah, when the sea acts up, it can be pretty scary." There was that great story in the 70s, which you may have seen on various TV programs, the story about the Edmund Fitzgerald, this powerful ship that suddenly disappeared into Lake Erie. It's believed that what had happened is that there was a hatch that was loose, and because the hatch was loose, the water in these heavy seas just went into the boat, went into the ship, and it filled with water and disappeared. It's a powerful reality. And when you're out there in the sea being tossed and turned, you don't forget that. When we look at the apostles in the boat, we have to remember that that's all they were in, was in a boat. They weren't in a ship. They weren't in some kind of cabin cruiser even. And when Jesus was sleeping, he wasn't sleeping below decks. He was sleeping in the boat too. And when you hit rough seas, you know it because you have the water spraying into your face. And you can tip over at any moment. It's scary, and they were scared. The interesting thing to look at is not that they were upset that Jesus didn't act like God. They were upset that Jesus didn't act like them. And the reason is because I'm sure you've been in a situation where someone is not doing their end of the work and there's a lot of work to be done. Well, here they were fighting for their very survival, and Jesus is asleep. "Lord, don't you care? You're falling asleep, and here we are trying to keep the ship afloat. Where are you?" When he stands and the storm goes away, it's beyond their imagination that he was going to do that. They're completely surprised. It's a great and powerful story, and it tells us a few things. Recently, at the celebration of Corpus Christi at the New Song Community in Brazil, Professor Felipe Aquino taught that, first of all of Jesus' miracles are him declaring to the world that he is God. So that's what's happening here. Jesus is declaring to the apostles, "Have no fear, I am God." But what is he saying to you and me? How many times have you been through the storms? How many times have you been through those painful events and you're turning around and saying, "What do I do?" And you go into a panic and you're focused on the disaster that you feel is impending. And Jesus is saying, do not think like that. You see, you and I as Catholics have a command. We can't think like anybody else. We can't think like everyone else thinks. We have to put our trust in Christ, and we have to look at the world in the eyes of those who trust Christ. And so when storms come, we have to look at the storm and we have to say, "I trust in you, Jesus," regardless of what's coming down the way. Because that's what differs us from everyone else. Please, 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 do not think that the defining point of what it means to be a Christian, to be a Catholic, is morality. Morality is an important part of our life, but the defining point of what makes us Catholic is that we live our lives in total trust in God, and therefore we live our lives differently than anyone else. When storms hit you, remember these words from St. Padre Pio: "Pray, hope, and never worry." And pray, hope, and never worry. When you find yourself focused on worry, you have to refocus on Christ and say, "Lord, I trust in you." I'm not speaking these words from someone who can speak them in pious tones. I'm speaking those words because I've learned them, because I've lived them. And I've learned how to say, "Lord, I trust in you." And I've learned how to say, "Lord, I never expected you to pull that stunt that changed the whole situation." Trust in the Lord during your storms. Yes, the storm may just go its way. It may not end suddenly like the one does in the gospel, but you will survive the storm. You will be with Jesus. And the greatest storm of all, you have to realize, is that fear of what happens next when you're on your deathbed. And Jesus says, I'm there too. Have no fear. This is Father Bob Carr for the New Song Community. God bless you.